I guess what I'm trying to say is we really don't know. I mean, maybe there's going to be a rapture, and the next split second there's going to be the peace treaty between the Antichrist and Israel. That's what most modern prophecy charts assume. But on the other end of the stick, there could be a considerable length of time between the rapture and the beginning of the 7-year tribulation period.
Dr. Woods, do you think that there will be a considerable amount of time between the rapture of the church and the tribulation period?
Now, I think that's a very interesting question, because a lot of times when we develop our prophecy charts, we're assuming a lot. So most prophecy charts I've seen, have something that signifies a rapture, usually an arrow, coming down and going back up. And then right after the rapture, they'll have a very nice graphic of the 7-year tribulation period. And the graph sort of gives the assumption that there's going to be the rapture, and then right after that, the 7-year tribulation period will start. Now, it could be that way. Maybe it'll happen that way. But my point is, we assume a lot. I mean, there's nothing in the Bible that says first there's a rapture and then very soon after is the tribulation period. There could be a gap of time between the rapture and the tribulation period. Remember, what starts the tribulation period is not the rapture. Daniel chapter 9, verse 27 is very clear that what will actually start the tribulation period is a peace treaty or a treaty of some kind between the Antichrist and unbelieving Israel. Now, the rapture has to precede that, because as long as the church is present, according to 2 Thessalonians 2, verses 6 and 7, the restrainer is present, holding back the Antichrist or the man of lawlessness. So that restrainer has to be removed via the rapture. Then the man of lawlessness will come forward and enter into the peace treaty with unbelieving Israel. So you have to have a rapture before the 70th week of Daniel. However, the length of time between the rapture and the beginning of the 70th week of Daniel is undisclosed. Maybe the two will occur back to back, or maybe there could be a large gap of time between the two. I don't know which it's going to be. I'll have to wait and see. But it's very interesting that when you go back in time and you look at older commentators, you look at the works of Bullinger, for example, who wrote a commentary on the book of Revelation, and you go back and you look at Clarence Larkin, in the 1920s, if memory serves, he wrote a commentary of the book of Revelation. Both of those men are saying there could be a gap of time between as much as 25 to 50 years between the rapture and the beginning of the 70th week. And the reason they were arguing that is they're arguing for a literal rebuilt Babylon, Revelation 17 and 18, which is the same view I hold. And the critique against that viewpoint is, well, then how could Babylon be rebuilt so quick so that the rapture can be imminent? And both Bullinger and Larkin are saying, well, there could actually be a distance of time between the rapture and the beginning of the 70th week of Daniel, and Babylon could be rebuilt in the interim. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we really don't know. I mean, maybe there's going to be a rapture, and the next split second there's going to be the peace treaty between the Antichrist and Israel. That's what most modern prophecy charts assume. But on the other end of the stick, there could be a considerable length of time between the rapture and the beginning of the 7-year tribulation period. And that's what the older commentators assume. So let's be careful with our assumptions. We don't know for sure. But I'm planning on having, quite frankly, the best seat in the house to see the whole thing unfold, because the Lord has promised me and everyone that has trusted in Him, Jesus, for the safekeeping of our soul and the forgiveness of our sins, that we will be raptured before the tribulation period starts. That's what we do know. I think we're all going to be sort of surprised concerning issues related to timing.